Why should we expect God to promise us anything? Well, first of all, because he loves us. And he loves us absolutely and unconditionally. And when you think about how to measure his love, there's no way. He promises guidance. He promises direction. He promises to provide our needs. He promises to protect us. And on and on and on we go with the promises of God. Why? Because he reveals himself to us in those promises. He says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Nobody else in the world can promise you that. He says, I will teach you in the way which you should go. I will guide you with my eye upon you. Only God has an eye for every single person. And we can just go through the scriptures thinking about all the promises God has made. And many of God's children are living in, they're living in promise poverty. Do you get that? Promise poverty. That is, the promises are there and they don't claim them. The promise is there and they don't believe them. The promise is there and they go in need. The promise is there and they doubt God and complain why things aren't going their way. Look at the promises of God. The Bible is full of them. And they're there for you and me because we're his children. And so when we say, well, what can I do? What can I do to deserve them? Not one thing. God made it possible for us to live this awesome life in relationship to him and to have our needs fulfilled and have our desires. He says, listen, if you delight yourself in me, I'll give you the desires of your heart. Nobody can promise you that but God. And the truth is, as you go through the promises, you can't even begin to name the promises that you and I could possibly do anything about except depend upon God to supply them. Think about this. When you've lived a while and you've been a Christian for a while, it becomes less and less and less and less and less and less reasonable for people to choose to be disobedient to God, who loves them absolutely unconditional, who wants the best, who has the power to provide the best, who's promised the best. Why would you want to be disobedient to that kind of God? Why would you want to be so foolish as to think that you're wiser than God is? Why would you want to live your life absolutely apart from his will and his way, thinking you're going to get by with it? All you have to do is to look around and realize there's no such thing as escaping the penalty of sin. No such thing. The only thing that deals with sin adequately is the cross. And when a person who's trusted Jesus Christ as their personal Savior lives in sin, listen, I'm telling you, the chastising, disciplining hand of a loving Father is going to be there. He's not going to let you get by with it. If he did, he'd be contributing to sin. So this awesome God who's given us all these promises, and he has all the power necessary to provide every single one of them in your life. Why would you want to choose to be so foolish, to be disobedient to him? But that's the way the world thinks. Wise people do not.